Good. Starting it off, playing center now 3 straight weeks. Jake Renfro's availability still in the air. Kind of has the adjustment period kind of settled in now 3 games in with Tanner Mordecai?
Yeah, I think so. And, the more you play, the more you feel comfortable doing it. And I think today, it's probably the best I've felt there so far. And, it's an exciting feeling. I think it's a game-to-game basis. And the more reps you get at it live, I think the more confident you feel. And so today it felt pretty good. So I'm excited to see how next week goes.
Run game-wise, early on it seemed like it struggled, leading to a more pass-heavy approach. Second half, you opened it up. Talk to me about kind of why the run game you felt struggled early on, and then what opened up really in the second half.
I think it's a lot of simple mistakes. I think the first half we self-inflicted a lot again. I think that's kind of a frustrating thing, but coming in, the emphasis in the second half was just do your job, do it well, and we'll be successful. And I think, in the second half, first drive, not the way we wanted to go, but after that we got rolling. I think guys were really focused on, okay, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to execute this play, and then the next play, and we just kept stacking good things. And I think just allowed for our schemes to open up a little more, and it was a lot of fun.
I know you talked about the offense, so to ask about that, but heading into Big Ten play, are you satisfied with how the offense is executing? And if not, what areas need to improve?
I think we do a lot of good things, but I think really focusing on starting off hot in the first half. And the promising thing to me, it feels like, is that we're really good in the second half. And I think that's very important to be. A lot of games come down to the second half, so how you are in the second half matters. But I think coming out hotter and being able to put up more points right off the bat would help us out a lot. And then you don't put yourself in a position where you got to fight all these late game battles. But I think the thing that makes me feel really good about it is that when it comes down to the wire, we were able to execute, stack good drives on good drives on good drives, and play complementary football with the defense.
And essentially, when you get off to a slow start, leaving yourself vulnerable, because maybe some days you'll be able to come out there. Maybe some days, like at Washington State, it's just not enough, and then you lose the game.
Exactly. And I think, you don't always want to be playing from behind. It's nice to get up, and then you can build on a lead. It's better to be building constantly on your lead than having to battle back from coming behind, because there's no guarantee that the defense is going to get a stop. As much as we trust in them too, it's football. Like, the other team can make plays. So, putting yourself in that position that you are ahead and the game's in your hands early is something we really got to make sure we emphasize going in the Big Ten.
So, I think third quarter, you all scored 48 points in 3 games. What do you make of that? And just what do you think contributes to that?
I think it just shows that we're a team that can wear you out, and then once you're tired, we still have the energy to keep going. It feels like we're a really good second half team, and I think that's what excites me, is that we're able to do a lot of really good things in the second half, and not just how do we do all that in the first half, and not put ourselves in that position where it's a really tight game headed into the half.
I know in the school we talked to you about your snapping, and you wanted to improve on it. It looked like today early, it wasn't where you wanted it. Did you get off to a little slow start and then get better as a game?
Yeah. I think Tanner said something about it early, and it's like, okay, I think when you get out there in a game, you're thinking about a lot of the other things, movements, defensive shifts. So you're not quite as focused on the snap, but then he says, hey, snap. I'm like, okay. And then it's just like, okay, relock into the mindset. And I think we're good from there. But we had one, I know, on his high on the goal line. It's like, okay, we got to lock back in there. Obviously you can't have any. It doesn't matter if you're 99%, it's got to be 100. So making sure I get the ball in his hands and the position to be successful is important. But yeah.
What does he say? Just snap?
Snap.
He just said snap to you?
He just says, hey, it was a little hot. I'm like, okay. All right, give me a hand placement where it was. Okay, that's definitely not where I want it to be. But just, keeping a mental note of that. And just, pre-snap. Okay, make sure I'm ready. Okay, we're good. Just making sure that's a focus point for me, before the play of the play.
Have you seen the replay of the high snap on the goal line yet?
No.
You got to check it out.
Okay. I heard he made a great play, but when I see Tanner in the ends, I'm like, you're not supposed to. I must have had a bad snap, because you're not supposed to be in the end zone right now.
The snap almost went to Belusi.
Yeah.
You got to reach in front of him and got it.
He said he got it. So I was just happy it worked out. But after that, I think we were all good.
And Rohan mentioned he had a tough week, dinged up, didn't get the carries that he wanted. How did you see him sort of handle himself throughout the week and put up the performance that he had, especially in the second?
I think he shows up every day and works hard. And you see him in the training room, especially, trying to get his body right, trying to recover. And, there's definitely a soreness, from fall camp and all the reps you take, kind of the workload. I think guys are kind of getting used to it now. And I thought he did a really good job of just making sure his body was ready for the game and that he was feeling good once kickoff happened. And today, just kind of having the energy on the sideline, like, all right, we got to go, we got to play our game, do our jobs. Especially in the second half, I thought he did a good job stepping up, kind of taking that leadership role, and just kind of making sure the offense is all on the same page, ready to roll. But it's just exciting to see him do it successful and kind of getting to where we need to be.
I think it's tough in this new offense to kind of strike a balance with. You can carry the ball a million times in the last offense, but there's more playmakers. I mean, I know that's not your position, but just blocking for me, from what you've seen, is it a challenge? You think to try to get that guy the ball? And
I think a little bit, just because, we have a lot of good players on offense, and the key to winning is getting the ball in those players' hands. And, now compared to the run game, we've got a lot more passing options now that I think allow us to be successful. So it takes the ball out of Braylon's hands, but at the same time, I think it's a good thing where, we don't need you to carry the ball 25 carries a game and get banged up by week 7. And, you feel like you can't do what you did in week 1. So I think it's kind of good to not have them take such a huge workload, but it still allows them to be successful, be explosive, and if we can just do that consistently throughout the game, we'll be in a really good spot.
Where do you think you guys are as an offense heading into the Big Ten season?
I think we're in a good spot where it just comes down to we just got to consistently execute. And I think in the first half, if we will watch some of the run plays, it's just a small thing. Someone makes a small mistake, runs the wrong route, misses a block, and you're that close to having a huge play, but since he missed that block, it's a 2-yard gain. And I think in the second half it really showed, everyone started to execute, finish. And I think that's kind of what we need to do in the first half. I really feel like we're really solid in the second half. And that's what's exciting because, if games come down to it, I have utmost confidence we'll win if it's close in the end. But we just got to make sure we don't put ourselves behind early and put ourselves in a bad position where, we're giving them the advantage coming out of the half.
Tanner, it seems like some of those outside zone concepts increase in the second half. Obviously, you had the big Braylon Allen run. What kind of looks were you seeing early on, and then what changed kind of in the second half to where some of those explosives were able to come?
Just a lot of heavy blitz movement packages. I think they did a good job again at keeping us on our toes, mixing it up. And I think in the second half, it was like, okay, here's what we've all seen, and here's what we all need to be ready for. And then coming out, it's like, okay, we saw that in the first half, so now we know how to fit it up and what to do. And I think it really showed, I think we did a good job of picking up the pressures and, allowing, on that one, I think we had a safety blitz and, it's just seeing that, okay, we got to get him. And I think we did a good job of picking it up and, obviously it shows.
A lot of guys talked this week about hoping to start fast this week. I know that didn't happen. Is there a common thing about what's happened offensively at the start of these games? And, is there any concern? You got Purdue in 6 days, and I'm sure you feel like you got to be better to be competitive in some of these more challenging games. What's your perspective?
I think it's just not making a bunch of mistakes. I think the biggest thing in 2 games that if we go back and watch it again, I think we just self-inflict a lot of the negative plays where if we don't make those mistakes, we don't put ourselves in that position. And it's like one guy play, and I think we were talking about it at halftime. On the headset, they were saying, okay, tight ends missed this one, running backs, O line missed this one. It's like you can't have that. So it's just making sure that start of every game we're locked in. You know exactly what you have to do, and you execute. I think execution is going to be huge going in the Big Ten. I think we have a really good team. It's just making sure we do our jobs and do it well.
You let Tanner go?
I got one more. And then Tanner, at the end of the second half, it seemed like some of those passes that Tanner had gotten batted down. He seemed a little animated after that. Are there any conversations, when passes are batted down at the line of scrimmage between the quarterback and the offensive line?
Yeah, it's just okay, I think on certain plays you feel the rush lighten up, and maybe you kind of stone him at the line of scrimmage, and then he's kind of sitting there, and you don't know what's going on in the backfield. But then they kind of jump up, and just feeling it out throughout the game. Okay, that's what that feels like. When he's kind of leaning back, not rushing as hard, he's about to jump for the pass. So making sure that you're getting his hands down is really important. And I think in the second half we did a better job of making sure hands were down because it really sucks if they tip a pass and somebody was wide open. So just making sure that we allow Tanner to get the ball off and get it off clean is huge, and I think it's going to be huge going forward for us.